The galaxy was quiet. Billions of screens flickered on at once. From the lowest mining colonies to the golden cities of the core worlds, people turned to watch. A live broadcast had been ordered by the Galactic Empire. The reason? The execution of a human girl. She stood alone on a high metal platform, her wrists chained, her head bowed. The crowd of alien species below watched with cold eyes. Around her stood armored soldiers from the Empire, silent, still, waiting for the order. No one knew her name. The Empire didn't speak it. They called her only Prisoner 314. A voice echoed across the sky from the speakers. This is the price of rebellion. Let all who think to defy the Empire see what happens to Earth's kind. The girl looked up. Her face was young, too young. No anger, no hate in her eyes. Just sadness, and something else. Calm. On Earth, people watched from every screen. Homes, bases, even deep spaceships. Governments said nothing. The Galactic Council said nothing. No one dared to challenge the Empire. The executioner stepped forward. His long alien blade shimmered with light. The crowd waited. The universe seemed to stop. A whisper moved through the humans watching the stream. Some closed their eyes. Some turned away. But somewhere deep beneath Earth's surface, something ancient and dark opened its eyes for the first time in centuries. She took one last breath. And then it happened. At that exact moment, in a star, system light years away, a deep space listening post stopped responding. No explosion, no warning, just silence. The girl's body dropped. The broadcast ended. The Empire thought it was over. But it wasn't, because 27 minutes after her death, their empire would begin to fall. The galaxy returned to its routine. News channels praised the Empire's justice. Alien leaders called it a necessary example. And for a while, it seemed as if the moment had passed. But something was wrong. Exactly 7 minutes after the broadcast ended, a patrol ship near the edge of Sector 91 went dark. No mayday, no signal. The Empire's command dismissed it as a technical failure. 12 minutes later, an outpost station on the frozen moon of Telon 4 stopped sending data. A second station sent a single, strange log. The stars, they're moving. Then silence. At 21 minutes, a message reached the Empire's central fleet. It was just 3 words. No sender. No signal path. The words glowed on the command bridge screen. She was not alone. Commanders laughed it off. A prank. Maybe some fringe rebel group trying to sound threatening. But at 27 minutes, everything changed. In the middle of Sector 17, one of the largest military bases in the Empire suddenly lost its skies. That's what the witnesses said later. The stars above them simply vanished. A shadow darker than space itself appeared, and with it, a low hum, a vibration that reached into the bones of every living being nearby. Then the base's power failed, shields fell, and every system went dark. No fire, no attack, just quiet. One technician whispered, "It's a ship," before the transmission cut out. From deep within the hidden defense rings of Earth, sensors confirmed it. A massive object had moved out from an ancient, forgotten region of space. No lights, no response, no known origin. It wasn't on any map. And yet, it was heading straight for the Empire. The object didn't answer calls. It didn't stop. It moved slowly, deliberately. No crew, no pilots, no signs of life. The Empire scrambled to respond. Fleets were mobilized. Warnings were issued. But by the time they acted, the object had already passed their outer defenses. Across Earth, no one said a word. The humans watched, not with fear, but with stillness, as if they had been waiting for this. The girl, the one they executed, had no weapon, no power. She had only her voice, and the silent promise that someone, somewhere, had heard it. And now, 27 minutes after she was taken, Something was coming. The cold darkness of space just beyond the Empire's proud central systems, it appeared. No one saw it arrive. It didn't drop out of hyperspace. No wormhole opened. One moment the sky was clear, the next something massive and black was there, silent, motionless, and far too large to be ignored. It didn't match any design, any known structure. No heat signatures, no engines, no lights. It was as if the void itself had taken form. Commanders watched in confusion. Was it a relic? A natural object? A trick? Across the Empire, debates began. Military leaders demanded action. Scientists wanted to study it. But all scans failed. The object's surface refused to reflect signals. No material matched. It was beyond technology. It was unreadable. Then came the sound. It wasn't really a sound, but a low, deep frequency that machines couldn't measure, but every living creature could feel. A slow hum, like something ancient awakening. It caused unease, even among the hardened veterans of the Empire's elite fleet. Animals hid, children cried, some simply stared at the sky without knowing why. Ships were sent to approach it, fast, light cruisers with the latest in defense tech. As they neared the object, one by one, their systems began to fail. First communications, then power, then life support. The last message received was a voice whispering almost calmly, "It's watching." Still, the Empire refused to retreat. They gathered a fleet of over 300 ships around the object, the best of their forces. They issued a warning to the unknown craft. No reply. Then a second. Still silence. On the third, they demanded identification. That's when the object responded, not with words, not with weapons, but with action. A small panel on its surface shifted, revealing a single dark line, barely visible. It extended forward slowly and released a single pulse of energy. It wasn't a blast, it didn't cause heat or fire. It was like space itself bent, folded and snapped back. And just like that, the Empire's capital star dimmed. Not exploded, not destroyed. It simply faded, as if someone had turned off a light that had burned for billions of years. Panic followed. The fleet tried to retreat, but their jump systems failed. Communications broke down. Ships drifted helplessly. The black object didn't chase them. It didn't move at all. It simply remained quiet and cold. Galactic networks exploded with speculation. Was it a weapon from a rival power? A curse? A natural force? Only Earth remained silent. Among humans, there was no confusion. No one claimed to control the object. No one needed to. Because in ancient stories passed down in whispers, there were mentions of something Earth had once built. Not for war, not for power, but for protection. A last resort guardian created when Earth had no allies. Something buried deep in forgotten space, beyond the reach of time. They called it the Black Light, and now it had returned, not because Earth had summoned it, but because it had been waiting. For centuries, the galaxy believed Earth was just another quiet world. Advanced, yes, but peaceful, forgotten. A planet of thinkers, artists, engineers. After the early space wars, humanity stepped back from the stars, choosing silence over conquest. Many assumed Earth had grown weak. Others believed humans had lost their will to fight, but none of them knew the truth. Long ago, during a time of great danger, Earth had written a single, secret line of code into its defense systems. A code that would never be activated by governments or generals, only by a specific moment, something deeply personal. A loss so meaningful, so unjust, that it would shake the very heart of humanity. They called it Protocol Blacklight. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't an army. It was something far more patient. A system hidden across space, silent watchers, buried drones, cloaked ships with no crew. They had no emotion, no politics, no desire for war. They only had a purpose. And that purpose had been triggered. As news spread across the stars about the fading sun and the quiet black ship, a few old scientists on Earth understood what had happened. They gathered in underground halls, reading ancient codes, rechecking records no one had touched in over 200 years. Her name appeared. The girl the Empire had executed. Not a soldier, not a leader. She was the daughter of one of Earth's last peace architects, Dr. Elijah Carter, a scientist who once warned the Galactic Council that Earth's silence should not be mistaken for surrender. He had designed Protocol Blacklight, not to strike first, but to answer only one kind of signal, a moment of injustice so clear, so cruel, that no words would be enough. His daughter's voice, broadcast in her final moments, had been enough. The system woke. All across the galaxy, old satellites turned toward the stars. Long silent frequencies reactivated. Deep under the oceans of Earth, forgotten machines began to hum. And at the center of it all, the black ship moved. It had no captain, no fleet. It didn't speak. But it remembered. Every world that cheered her death, every system that stayed silent, every signal that laughed as a young human girl was made an example. The Empire still didn't understand what they had awakened. They thought it was just one ship. But Blacklight was not a single object. It was a network, a system that had been waiting patiently for one signal. And now with that signal received, it was not looking for revenge. It was carrying out a promise. The Empire had always believed it was untouchable. Its fleet stretched across thousands of systems. Its technology was unmatched. Its laws shaped entire civilizations. And when it punished the human girl in front of the entire galaxy, it did, so with complete confidence that no one would challenge its authority. But just days after her final breath, that confidence began to unravel. It started quietly. One communication hub lost contact with its nearby stations. Then trade routes were cut, not by force but by strange malfunctions. Navigation systems no longer recognized paths that had existed for centuries. Ships drifted off course and never returned. Then came the silence. Entire colonies went quiet. Automated supply stations stopped transmitting. Defense grids failed to activate. The Empire's citizens grew restless. Whispers spread of a dark presence moving through space. Officials tried to control the story, calling it a technical problem, a space storm or sabotage. But nothing they said could explain what was happening. In truth, Blacklight wasn't attacking the Empire. It was erasing it, softly, silently, without warning. Piece by piece, the Empire's infrastructure began to collapse. Their technology stopped trusting them. Their own systems started locking them out. It wasn't just power being lost. It was control. Then came the message. Broadcast on every frequency, in every known language across every device. This is not a war. This is the consequence. Panic followed. Empire leaders held emergency meetings. Some begged for peace talks with Earth. Others demanded the use of their ultimate weapons. But Earth remained silent. In the shadows of the galaxy, refugees began to tell stories. Stories of a ship that moved without engines, of black drones that passed over cities without touching them, and of voices heard in dreams. The most powerful systems in the galaxy, untouched by war for generations, suddenly found themselves surrounded by stillness. No enemy ships. No invasions, just absence. One by one, Empire officials began to disappear. Their ships would leave and never return. Their names would vanish from records, their existence quietly removed, not by force, but by a kind of quiet undoing, and, as this wave spread, more and more began to understand the pattern. The girl they had once ignored now appeared in dreams, in data fragments, in fading signals. Her name was spoken like a warning. They had tried to erase her, but now she was everywhere. A symbol, a spark, the heart of something the Empire could not defeat. Because this wasn't Earth's army. This was Earth's memory. And memories, once awakened, do not forget. Far beyond the crumbling edges of the empire, on a quiet moon with no name, a signal played on repeat. It had no encryption, no signature, just a soft voice, clear, calm, and unmistakably human. If anyone hears this, I forgive you, even if Earth doesn't. The voice belonged to the girl the galaxy had forgotten too quickly, the one whose execution was meant to show power, but instead revealed something else, something deeper. Her message wasn't full of anger, it wasn't a call for war. It was just a simple recording she made before her final day. No one knew how the file survived, but it spread like wind through the stars. Across the empire, people paused to listen, and for the first time they didn't see her as a criminal, not as a threat, but as something different. A child who had stood with dignity, a voice that had reached across space and time, and a name that refused to be buried. Her name was Hope Carter. When the name was finally spoken aloud on Imperial channels, it felt like something had shifted. It wasn't just her memory returning, it was the understanding of what she meant. She had no fleet, no rank. She was not a warrior or a ruler. She was simply one life, one soul. But her loss had touched something ancient and powerful within humanity. A silent promise had been broken, and Earth had kept its word, not through destruction, but through remembrance. Now, wherever people gathered, statues of hope began to appear, not built by Earth, not ordered by governments, but raised by those who had once looked away and now felt the weight of silence. In schools, her story was taught. In temples, her image was placed beside the great peacekeepers. Her recording was played at the start of each solar cycle, not as a warning but as a guide. Blacklight, the quiet guardian of Earth, returned to the void, its task complete. It did not need praise. It did not seek glory. It was never meant to conquer. It had simply kept a promise. And now, across the stars, one truth echoed louder than any broadcast. Never mistake silence for weakness. Never measure power by the size of armies. And never ever forget the name of a girl called Hope.